think that this
No, I am your father.
is the most important line in the entire Star Wars saga. It's probably the most iconic and memorable from any movie, but purely from a storytelling perspective, this one line changed the course of where the Star Wars saga was going to go. In this video, I will be covering the entire Star Wars saga at the time of this video's release. That is episodes 1 through 7, so please be warned that there will be spoilers. What this one line did was put an emphasis on family, but before we even look at this line or anything from The Empire Strikes Back, let's look to 1971 and the conception of the Star Wars universe. In 1971, Universal Studios signed a 2-picture deal with George Lucas. The first movie ended up becoming American Graffiti, which did incredible at the box office, grossing nearly $100 million, or by today's standards, over $500 million. Shortly after the release of American Graffiti, Lucas shifted his attention towards the other movie, his passion project, The Journal of Wills, which followed the training of a Jedi apprentice by Master Mace Windu. But executives at Universal found this to be too confusing, so the next draft turned into what was called Star Wars and followed Anakin Starkiller in his journey battling the evil Sith. This too was turned down, and the second draft of Star Wars added Luke, Anakin's son, and followed his training in the Force by his father. Again, this was changed into a final shooting draft that replaced Anakin with Obi-Wan Kenobi as the mentor figure by the studio's request. In 1976, when the final draft was written and production was about to begin, the movie was intended as a one-and-done story. Lucas had a bigger idea of the universe and wanted to explore that further, but felt due to technical limitations, it could not be told through film. So he hired Alan Dean Foster to write Splinter of the Mind's Eye, a book that further explores the Star Wars universe and goes into much more depth and tells different stories. After a very tricky production, Star Wars hit theaters and, as we all know, was a smash hit. However, George Lucas wanted to distance himself from the series and used success to create a studio that his friends could use to make movies from. So, while still maintaining ownership of the saga, gave over creative control to Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan to develop what would become The Empire Strikes Back. This was Kasdan's first of many great screenplays to come, but was Brackett's last of many great screenplays. Throughout the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, Brackett wrote some of the best movies being made, like The Big Sleep and Rio Bravo. Brackett used her writing experience working in the film noir genre to add more depth and more twists and turns to the story. Unfortunately, she passed away before the script was completed, and Lucas ended up finishing it, adding in another twist, this one you may know, that Darth Vader was revealed to be Luke's father. So what was the impact of this line? There are 3 main areas that I want to single in and focus on. First of all, it thematically made the saga stronger. In Episode 4, family was a big theme. The loyalty Luke had to his aunt and uncle is questioned. He has to continue his father's legacy and become a Jedi. But in addition, the group of Luke, Han, and Leia form a sort of ragtag family that is stronger than the bond that Luke felt to his aunt and uncle. However, when we are introduced to this line, it changes everything. Family is no longer seen as a good thing, but it is also seen as something that can lead to trouble. In addition, it makes us question if Luke will follow his father's path. It also makes family become more important in the subsequent films. In Episode 6, it is revealed that Leia is Luke's sister. This monumental reveal is speculated to have only been introduced because of the success of the one line in Empire Strikes Back. In the prequel trilogy, family bonds again are questioned. Although the execution of these movies may not be the best, the concept of seeing a brotherly love being torn apart is one that has been explored before, but slowly seeing the deterioration of this relationship is what the movies should have been all about. In addition, seeing Anakin's hatred destroy his love of Padme is an interesting story. Would have been great to see if it was told properly. In the sequel trilogy, that is Episodes 7, 8, and 9, family is going to play a monumental role thematically. Already we have seen son turn against father, and another ragtag group come together to form a sort of family. In the future, I'm sure this will be reinforced with more revelations. Star Wars is a universe about family, and this one line, this one moment forever set that in stone. This line gave it a sense of seriousness. No longer is it just a fun space adventure, but instead a world with developed characters, bigger themes, and a sense of importance that was lacking in Episode 4. Another major impact that it had was being able to tie the universe together. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away seems enormous in scale, yet the movies focus on a very small period of time. I think that by focusing on one family and the people closest to them, it strengthens the overall story. We're not just seeing random characters who have a habit of randomly meeting in obscure locations, but instead we are seeing a group of people who are tied together. The family aspect of Star Wars gives it a meaning. It makes everything more concise. It focuses on this group of people in a very large world and helps invest the audience into the characters. We now want to see where this relationship is going to go. What is going to happen next? George Lucas called Star Wars a soap opera about the Skywalker family. Without the familial bond, the story wouldn't be as compelling and wouldn't be as great. Finally, this one line has added more depth to the hero's journey. From ancient epics to modern blockbusters, the hero's journey has been overused and overtold. However, when you add the family dynamic to the story, Luke's journey is no longer just a physical one, but also an emotional one. When you add the extra depth of the family history, this movie takes on a bigger meaning. Episode 4 almost perfectly follows the hero's journey path, and when you single in on Luke's journey in Episode 5, it looks like it'll follow a similar storyline. That is until the end. Thematically, this changed the focus of Episode 6. The movie is now about Luke having to resist joining his father on the dark side. The movie's focus shifted away from completing a goal and instead about resisting a temptation. There are very few lines in cinema history that have had this big of an impact on storytelling, and I think it's important to appreciate how something so small and so short can have such a huge impact. Thank you very much for watching. There are so many great moments throughout the Star Wars saga that have had huge impacts, but really they all fall short compared to this one here, and I wanted to single in on this one and really discuss it. Next week we are actually going to be continuing our discussion of Star Wars, this time looking at The Force Awakens. I think that movie really lends itself nicely to discussion, and I'll be leaving a link to that video on the right of the screen. That'll be out next Saturday. Over on the left is my last video where we broke down film noir and some of the bigger themes and ideas found within that genre. Check that video out if you haven't seen it, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.